Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I'm your stream guide Morphine. This is the second of our 5-part series, So You Want to Be a Streamer. Today we're going to be talking about gear, what you need, what you don't, why it matters, and you might not need as much as you think you do. Let's go. So let's talk about gear a little bit. Starting streaming gear. If you're just getting into streaming, or you've been doing it for a little while, and you don't know what gear to buy. If you're like me when you got into this, you know that you want to play games and you want to play games on Twitch or YouTube gaming. If you're like me, the first thing you're thinking about is I got to get some gear, right? I wasn't thinking about content or branding or anything, but you're thinking about gear. So you're like, oh, I need this and this and this and this and this, or oh my God, what do I need? To truly start, you only need a webcam and a mic. And I'm sorry, but the webcam and mic on your laptop, if you use a laptop, are not going to cut it. The quality is just not there. It's just not there on your laptop. The frames per second, the resolution, they're just not going to cut it. It's fine for if you work from home, that's for your job, and you have a laptop and maybe you go to meetings every now and then or whatever, and you're using your laptop for that. It's fine for a work call. It is, but for this where quality makes a difference, no. You can't just use your laptop webcam. It's just not gonna look good. If you're somebody who's really entertaining, you have a lot of content and all that stuff is good, and somebody goes to your stream and your stream looks like crap, you're going to lose a little bit of credibility. And I'm just being honest. You're gonna lose a little credibility, and they won't take your message as seriously because your stream doesn't look good. It's just how it works. I'm in the technology field for my regular job, and I tell you that good looking application that has very little functionality will be better received by end users than looking application that has phenomenal features. It's just how humans are wired to think of things, and it's unfortunate that it works that way, but it does. And so quality of stream, quality of your gear are super important. And so I'll reiterate, if you have a laptop with a webcam and a onboard mic, you cannot use those. They are not going to give you a good enough stream. So you got to pay attention to that. And you don't need a lot of money to get started. A decent USB webcam is going to cost you less than $100. The webcam you're looking at right now, right there, is a Logitech C922. You can get it at B&H Photo, which I would highly recommend B&H Photo. They're a quality shop. But the C920 is another awesome choice. You can get for around $70. And both of those are made by Logitech, and they will get you what you need in terms of initial starting quality. But you're going to want to have a webcam like that. You don't need to spend more than $200 on your webcam when you start off. In fact, you're going to find that after $200 price point for webcam, the quality difference between a $300 or $400 webcam and a $100, $200 webcam, it's not going to be noticed by the average person. You don't need to spend more than $100, but I recommend that you do at least spend somewhere between $75 and $100 to get one of those two webcams that I mentioned. I have one up on the ceiling there. It's the Atade PC HD webcam. It is $50. And it's a quality webcam. It works well. You can configure all the normal settings. It has the embedded ring light, which is not as powerful as I would like it to be. Definitely. If the room is completely dark and I have it on, yeah, it works. But if there is any amount of light, the light doesn't really have much of an effect. One good thing it does, and maybe this is why they made it the way they did, because it's not a very strong light, is it works well for that catch light effect. I've established you have to upgrade your webcam. And when you upgrade your webcam, every webcam has a built-in mic. So you think you could use that, but I wouldn't recommend it. What I would recommend is at least getting a USB mic that you can plug in. And a USB mic is just going to make you sound better. Even if you don't have an audio mixer, like a Go XLR or the Rodecaster by Rode, having a good mic is going to make a lot of difference. The mic that I'm using right now, this is by Blue. They have a whole series of mics in different price ranges from, I think, $50 all the way to like 2,500. They're all good quality mics. They are all good quality mics. The one I have here is the Yeti. This is one of the most common, more popular ones that they have. I got this, and I got the Blue's compass arm. You sort of suspend it up here with a shock mount, and I think it sounds really good. Yes, I do having it go through an audio mixer, but even if I wasn't using an audio mixer, the quality of this mic is still good. Like, great construction. It's got good features. It has the gain on the back, as well as you can change the direction of the voice. This mic, I have options. I can have it omnidirectional, so let's say I'm doing an interview with somebody who's maybe sitting on the other side of a desk, it would pick them up as well, and me. I have it set up so that it's only taking sound waves like in a direction like this right here, which works well for me being where I am because there's nobody behind me, so I don't have to worry about sounds coming back there. The heater, the air conditioner kind of thing is up that way, so those probably aren't even really that noticeable. So it's really just picking up my voice. And even if I'm turned this way, you can actually tell the difference. So I'm talking here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 versus when I'm facing it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You notice there's a little bit more depth, a little bit more richness to the voice. And it's simply because I'm talking directly in the path of the range that it wants to pick up, and so it does make a difference. The bottom line, Blue is a good company to use for mics. They have a wide range of mics price wise to fit every budget, and if you want to go beyond that, look at things like the Shure, which is probably one of the most popular ones out there. That is an XLR mic though, which is different. That's not going to plug directly into your computer, and you're going to need some sort of audio mixer. You're probably going to need some sort of, I think the Shure requires phantom power, and that's one difference between the XLR mics and the USB mics, is that USB mics are, they're powered by USB, and they do all of their, there's a lot that happen inside the body of the mic versus something like an XLR. It needs to be powered externally, and it doesn't do as much in the body of the mic as some of the USB mics do, which is good and bad. There's people that don't like that because it makes them more complicated to sort of troubleshoot if there's issues, and they're not as simple. So there's a lot more things that can go wrong with a USB mic, and I'm saying that not to scare anybody, but just telling you how it is. However, these things are quality, man. So I would recommend picking up a USB mic. If you can get one by Blue, I personally think that they're some of the best ones out there. And you can get like the Snowball mic. The Snowball by Blue is, I think, about $50, and it's a quality mic. A lot of streamers are using it. A lot of content creators are using it. You're not going to go wrong with it. You're really not. So now we want to talk about lighting, and lighting might not seem like something that you thought was important. I can tell you, I had no idea that lighting was important when I started streaming. It didn't even register for me that I have to look at getting lighting. I'm like, what do you mean? There's windows and there's ceiling lights. That's good, right? No, it's not. It's not good. Not by itself anyway. So you're gonna want to invest a little bit in the key lights, and key light it's a term in photography, and it really is referring to your main light that is going to fill out most of your face. Because look, when you're streaming, when you're making content, you're not just selling your gameplay without a webcam. Now, there are plenty of people that do stream without ever showing their face on screen, and there's nothing wrong with that. And in those cases, I guess a webcam and lighting don't matter because you're not showing yourself. But if you do show yourself, and because you understand that people will connect with you better if you're doing this as a potential career. Maybe it's more than just a hobby where you're showing off your gameplay, but if you're doing this as a potential career, the one way that you're gonna get people to connect with you and become loyal followers of you and support you is you have to let them know who you are. And part of knowing who you are is seeing you and seeing your reactions when you're playing a game or when you're talking like I'm talking to you right now, when I'm trying to look at the camera. So I need to make sure that it looks good as possible. So having lighting, and I have light up there, and I have a light off that way, about 45-ish degree angle. So lighting is important because it fills out your face, and people can see you, and they can see what you want them to see. And for this kind of medium, streaming like this, it's not just having your key light. You also want to be able to separate yourself from the background. And if you don't have lights behind you, like if you're sitting in a really dark room and you only have a light in front of you at that 40, a little bit above your head and at a 45-degree angle, so you're kind of coming down this way, and you don't have any light behind you and it's just dark behind you, it's quite possible that you're gonna kind of blend into the background a little bit, and that doesn't look as good. So you're gonna want to get some kind of they call it like an edge light or a hair light that kind of just shines down a little bit. And you can't really see mine on that well because I don't have the level up too high, but I'm not really that worried about it because I've angled some of my other lighting to highlight the background a little bit, and I have the RGBs going in the sides of the bookshelf, so that is actually pulling me away from the background, so it's achieving that effect. And honestly, maybe it's not coming through in there, but I can actually see the light from the ceiling reflecting off of the headset, so I can tell that it's doing what it's supposed to do. The reason why I'm using the Elgato ring light is because I find that using more gear out of the same ecosystem, in this case Corsair's Elgato division, just makes the process of content creation and streaming better. Anyway, so the ring light is what it sounds, and if you haven't seen one, it's a ring, and it has the 1 1/4 20 thread screw in the middle for you to put on your webcam, so that when you're looking at it, you're getting that catch light that I mentioned before, which really kind of makes kind of like your eyes kind of come alive, which looks really good on stream and on video. Like I said, it's not that expensive and it works really well. It's super bright and it's a quality product, so that's what I would recommend for lighting. We talked about audio, we talked about video, we talked about lighting. So now we're gonna hit the computer category, and this is actually a no-brainer. I don't even sometimes include this when I give talks about gear. If you're getting into this, whether you're doing PC gaming or console gaming, you have a computer. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you about what you need for a computer in detail. You need the best processor and best graphics card that you can afford. That's what you need. You hear people talk about single PC and dual PC streaming. The reason they talk about that is if you're a PC gamer and you want to stream, whether it's Twitch or Twitch and Facebook or Twitch and YouTube or whatever, some combination, playing a game on your PC is resource intensive. I'm talking about you, Cyberpunk. Trying to stream as well, and especially if you're doing multi-streaming, to multiple platforms, it also uses a lot of resources. So now if you have a video game that's using a lot of resources, and you're trying to stream, which is using a lot of resources, you're gonna run into conflicts. You're gonna run into issues with how much your PC can actually handle. And it doesn't matter if you have a brand new top of the line PC pre-built or that you built yourself. with the best graphics card, an i9 processor. It doesn't matter, because you're still gonna be competing for resources. You're not gonna have an optimal experience. You're just not. So if you're a PC gamer, I strongly recommend that you invest in a lesser expensive machine just to do your streaming on. Your workhorse machine needs to be your gaming rig. You can have a lesser of machine for the actual streaming. So and you, like, from your gaming PC, you connect that to the streaming PC, and then that goes out to the world. So it's more than a pass through, but not so much more that you really need another i9 machine or i7 machine. You don't. So, but you do need a second one. I would recommend a second one. If you can only afford to have that one piece, don't play on the highest graphics settings. Don't play Cyberpunk, and don't play the highest graphics settings, because your machine's gonna struggle. It just is. The other point I like to make is, if you play PC game, you need a dual setup. If you play console, the common refrain is, well, you need a single PC. But I would actually say that console is the second PC. So really, everybody is a two PC gamer, because your console, in order to stream, you have to connect it to your PC and to a capture card, and the capture card allows you to see it on screen and record it and pass it through, which is the same exact thing you're doing when you have a second PC, when you're doing PC gaming. So really, the setup is the same. So when you hear dual PC versus single PC, just know that it's really the same. You have one rig that's going to be a little beefier than the other, but they're going to connect together. Wherever you're playing your games on is going to connect to one PC, and it's going to be out there. So that's pretty much all I really wanted to say about computers. And now you have other, the last category, other. And this gets overlooked when people are making their budget and planning out their purchases when they're getting into this. You forget about the other category. And the other category includes everything else. If you want some kind of a macro keyboard, which you don't need when you're starting out. You just don't. Don't forget about a USB hub. My machine has 7 USB ports. They're all USB 3, and that wasn't even close to enough for what I needed. So I had to get an additional USB hub, right? They're not expensive, but it's not free. If you are doing content creation, or even if you're doing video games and you have the intention of making clips to post on YouTube or wherever, you need storage space. You need a lot of storage space. So you might need to get an external hub or something like that. You don't want to just rely on cloud storage for recording your VOD. And I'm sure there's somebody out there saying, well, I don't need to record my VODs, man. Twitch saves my stream, and then I could just make clips off it. Yeah, you can. But remember, you are pushing out the best quality that you can. Maybe you're pushing up 1080p 60. Twitch compresses the living when it gets up there. Just absolutely compresses the out of it. And so when you download it, it will not be the same quality that you pushed up there. It just won't. And it's not going to look as good. So if you download that VOD, or you're trying to make clips off that VOD, you're going to notice a real difference in the quality of what you pushed out there, and it's just not going to look good. The best thing that you can do really is recording it locally, whether that's through OBS or through Streamlabs or whatever. Record it locally and then use that to make your edits out of. Now, I went through all that because understand that, like, these files that you're recording in 1080p with all the sound and the overlays and all that stuff, like right now I'm recording my stream through Streamlabs, and sometimes I record it directly off my capture card. I've started not to do that as much because I don't apply the overlays to it. The overlays, I want it to look exactly and sound exactly like it does as you are seeing it. So I record directly out of Streamlabs, and it's big. So I've been recording for 2 hours, just over 2 hours now, and the file is about 15 gigs. Now that's not a ton, but think about if you stream a lot and you record a lot, you're gonna end up using a lot of space, and then you take that file. So when I finish, it's probably gonna be close to 20 gigs. And then I'm gonna start cutting it up, posting it out there, seeing what I can do with it. So that's gonna add more space. So the bottom line is, it takes a lot of storage space to do this. So you're gonna need to invest in some kind of additional hard drive for your computer, or you want to get an external hard drive. But you don't really want to do a cloud storage, because while the quality will go up the same, there's size limits for that, and also the speed at which you're writing, because when you're recording, it's writing live, right? So it would probably cause some issues, and I just wouldn't really recommend it. So invest in network storage or additional storage for your actual computer. Another thing that you might want to look at, what I have is an HDMI matrix switcher. Now the reason I have that, I have the two monitors here. I have my Xbox down there. I have a camera, a DSLR camera back there. Those all have HDMI output. So I have a 6x2 HDMI switcher, so I can plug everything into it. I have five sources right now, so I plug all 5 sources into there, and then it has the 2 output 6x2 that goes in one into each monitor. So, and then I use this remote to switch what is on each monitor at any time. Now, it's not a necessity that you have that set up. I think the switcher that I have was probably like $50, something like that. But it's a big time saver, and you don't want to be pulling out HDMI cables every 7 seconds like I was doing when I first did this setup. So that is another piece of gear that you might need. Again, if you're on a lower budget, maybe it's not what you want to get right away, because every dollar counts. I kind of gave you like the budget version, or a starting version, if you have like, up to $500 to spend when you're getting started. So when we're going to a second tier of gear, now you're going to do a couple things. Now you're going to look at potentially upgrading some of the things that you had purchased to start, but now you want to maybe add some things that you didn't have in to start, because they're more luxury items, I guess, if you want to call it that. And this tier is a really wide range for the budget. So the first tier was everything from 0 to 500. Tier 2 is 500 to 2500. And the reason why it is such a big tier is because the upgrades are expensive. The upgrades are expensive to get to that next level in your streaming and content creation gear. And one of the biggest things that for me was just a big ticket item was when I wanted to upgrade this guy here, the camera that I'm on, C922X. I'm using it here, but I upgraded. Let me switch to that other camera. There we go. So this is the DSLR cam right here, and this is the cam we were just looking at. This is the C922. So C922, Canon EOS RP DSLR camera. The quality difference is very noticeable, and because it's DSLR, it does things with the field of vision. So like you see the blur behind me, that's actually a natural blur from the lens that I'm using. And when I go to the face cam, you don't see the same blur, because it doesn't do that. It doesn't have that ability to blur things out like that. Now, if you're on a PC using an NVIDIA card, you possibly can take advantage of the NVIDIA broadcast software, which allows you to set some additional functionality to your camera. You can add a background blur. You can add background replacement, background removal, or auto frame. And auto frame, when it kind of zooms in and it makes sure it's keeping you in frame. The next upgrade you want to make is to the audio. And I wouldn't even start with upgrading the mic first. I would add an audio mixer. An audio mixer allows you to fine tune how your voice sounds. It is light years away from using the mic on your laptop. It is still light years away from using the mic on a webcam. you have much more control over various aspects of sound. Now, if you're not an audio engineer, which I am not, it's okay. Something like the Go XLR or the Rodecaster they are user friendly enough that you can competently set up your audio so it sounds good. You'll have functions like the Blue mic. Now, there are other USB mics you can get that do this, but Blue has a gain control right on the back, and gain filters out how much background noise there is on your mic when you're talking. So when you're using a mic that doesn't have that, and you don't have an audio mixer, if your fan, heater, air conditioner, kids, whatever is going on around you, all of that is coming through. Think about, for anyone here that works from home and you're on a call for your job, you most likely hear everything going around the people that are talking on those calls, because they're just using their webcam mic, or they're just using the onboard mic on their laptop, and it has no gain control or compression or anything. You just hear everything, right? And that doesn't sound great on stream. When I'm on stream, you want to hear just my voice. I want you to hear just my voice. Not everything else. Not me typing, not me using the controller, not me doing whatever. You just want to hear that voice. An audio mixer is one of the things that allows you to do that. The gain control on here is great, but it's alone is not enough. So, and I'm going to use the Go XLR for example, and I do have a video for this that came out. I made it last week, and it's on YouTube. Again, I believe the link to it is below. I kind of cover what makes the Go XLR so important in the audio game that you're doing, that you're trying to set up, the quality that you're trying to set up. It is a big deal. So it also has a gain on it. So, and I actually took advantage of that, because when I set this up and set the Go XLR up and a few other things, I had some electronic feedback. So the way that I actually worked that out was I kept the gain about mid-level on the mic, and then on the Go XLR software, I actually turned the gain like almost all the way down, so I was just taking in everything, because when I had it up, there was some sort of interference, and that's actually, I went and got this inline noise suppressor to get rid of electronic feedback sound. So you're piping that into your audio mixer, and then you have another level of gain typically that you can use to further filter out noises that you don't want. So in the Go XLR, and I believe the Rodecaster is the same way, you can, besides setting the gain, you can configure your gate. Now, the main thing to know about the gate is there's going to be a setting called threshold. And what threshold does is it determines the level under which no sound should be picked up. It helps to eliminate any noise that your onboard mic gain or your software gain didn't filter out, by saying, okay, if the sound is lower than this, don't include it in the stream. Now, you want to play with that by talking normally. You want to talk normally and start adjusting that threshold level until you're talking at about the lowest you would normally talk, and making sure that its threshold is just above that, so that when you talk at your lowest voice, your typically your quietest voice, that it's still being picked up. So that's how that works. There are, in the Go XLR software, there are other functions like attenuation, attack, and release, and those kind of affect like how quickly that threshold kicks on and how quickly it drops off. I don't really need to go into those in too much detail. I will say, for the one that affects how it gets dropped off, which is called release, do not be aggressive with that, because if you are, what happens is, when you're talking, like if you ever look at like the levels of audio when somebody is talking, when you stop talking, it really trails off, almost nothing. But when I say nothing like that, the last sound I'm making and the word nothing, it gradually trails off to well, nothing. If you set your release if you're too aggressive with your release, it cuts off the mic too soon. So it sounds like I just like that. It just sounds like I just stopped talking. You don't hear that natural trailing off sound that humans have when they're talking. So don't be too aggressive with the release. Another setting you're going to have for sound is your equalizer. Everyone's familiar with EQ. The Go XLR, for example, has your basics, your bass, your mid, and your treble. But when you expand it, it has all the different frequencies that you can affect. And if you know how all these frequencies work and how they work together, how they play together, just get in there and go for it. But if you don't, watch some videos on it. Not one of mine, because I don't have a video on this, but watch some videos on this and you will get an idea of how to set those levels based on your voice, based on the sound that you want to hear, to make it sound as good as possible. And the last two things about audio mixers and why they're valuable and why you should get one when you're ready to level up your audio game is they have compressor and they have a de-esser. A compressor, it gets rid of the highs and the lows when you're talking, and it's sort of like, well, it does what the name says. It compresses it into a smaller range. So if you every now and then get a little high pitched or a little too deep, it sort of brings it in. So the audio output is in a nice tight range, so it sounds best for the users. Like they're not having to constantly adjust their volume to turn you down or raise you up or whatever. And then the de-esser, it gets rid of that harsh S sound. If I were to turn my de-esser setting down, you would notice like it just sounds like I have a lisp. You know what I mean? So it's another important setting. So those are the basic functions that you can control and modify when you have an audio mixing device. In terms of lighting, you don't need a ton of lights. If you got a single key light in your starting kit, you might still be good. But if you're gonna do anything, buy another light, maybe an edge light or hair light or something like that, and it will just make it look a little bit better. But you don't need to spend a ton of money. And in the computer category, there's nothing really you need to do. Maybe if you want to upgrade any of the components, you want to get a better graphics card, you want to add some more RAM, whatever, go for it. And in the other category, if there's any additional accessories or peripherals that you need to get you want to get a better keyboard, a better mouse, or whatever, those are additional things. But the real expense is going to come from upgrading your mic setup, upgrading your adding an audio mixer, and then if you wanted to add something like a Stream Deck or some other kind of macro keyboard, you can go for that. All right, so that's tier 2. Tier 3, there's nothing for me to even really talk about in tier 3. You're just again upgrading your equipment. So there you go. I hope everybody liked that. Hey, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed that video, please like, comment, and subscribe. And for more helpful tips and reviews, check out the videos over here.